Good morning, children. Welcome back to today's biology class. So today we'll continue the lesson 7, diversity in living organisms. So today we'll learn the groups or kingdom of different organisms. Okay. So before starting your class, please be ready with your book. The hierarchy of classification groups. Biologists such as Ernest Haeckel 1894, Robert Whittaker 1959 and Carl June 1977 have tried to classify all living organisms into broad categories called kingdoms. So these biologists, they are trying to classify all the living organisms into broad categories, and that categories are called as the kingdoms. The classification Whittaker proposed was 5 kingdoms. So Whittaker, he proposed the 5 kingdoms, that is the Monera, Protista, Fungi, Plantae and Animalia. These are the 5 kingdoms of living organisms which are proposed by the Whittaker and is widely used. These groups are formed on the basis of their cell structure, mode and source of nutrition and body organization. So these groups are formed according to or on the basis of their cell structure, what type of cells they are made of, their mode of nutrition, what type of nutrition they are taking, like autotrophic nutrition, heterotropic nutrition. So on the mode of their nutrition based on, and the body organization, how their body designs are formed, how their body are formed. Okay, according to that, these groups are divided. The modification O is introduced by dividing the Monera into Archaebacteria or Archaea and Eubacteria or bacteria is also in used. Further classification is done by naming the subgroups at various levels as given in the following scheme. Kingdom, then the phylum for animals, and division for plants. After the kingdom, next they made the groups, that is the phylum for the animals and division for the plants. Then they made the class, order, family, genus and species. So these are the groups they made to classify all the living organisms. Okay. Thus, by separating organisms on the basis of a hierarchy of characteristics into smaller and smaller groups, we arrive at the basic unit of classification, which is a species. So, to separate all the organisms into different categories, they made a hierarchy of characteristics. Okay, they are making a very smaller and smaller groups, and lastly they arrived a basic unit of classification, and that is the species. So what organism can be said to belong to the same species? Broadly, a species includes all organisms that are similar enough to breed and perpetuate it. The important characteristic of the 5 kingdom of Whittaker are as follows. So here it is given the characteristic important characteristics of 5 kingdoms which are proposed by the Whittaker. Okay, and these are follows like this. First one is the Monera. These organisms do not have a defined nucleus or organelles, nor do any of them show multicellular body design. So in the Monera, these organisms, what they are doing, what is happened to that organism, they don't have a defined, means their nucleus or organelles are not distinct, not clear or not defined. You cannot identify their nucleus or organelles. Nor do any of them have multicellular body design, and their body design also not like a multicellular organisms. Okay. On the basis of other hand, they show diversity based on many other characteristics, but they are showing a diversity, means the difference, varieties on the basis of many other characteristics. Some of them have cell walls while some do not. So what is the difference characters they are having? Some of them are having a cell wall, but some of them are not having a cell wall. Of course, having or not having a cell wall has very different effect on body design. Here, from having or not having a cell wall in multicellular organisms. Okay, the mode of nutrition of organism in this group can be either by synthesizing their own food, that is autotrophic, or getting it from the environment, that is heterotrophic. And their mode of their first is that they are having a cell wall, or some are not having a cell wall. That is the one characteristic. Second one is their mode of nutrition. Some are there which can able to synthesize or prepare their own food, and they are known as the autotrophic. And another one, they are taking the food from the environments, and they are known as the heterotrophic. This group include bacteria, blue-green algae or cyanobacteria, and mycoplasma. Some examples are shown in figure. Look, here are some example of Monera is given. It's a bacteria. This is a Anavena. This is also a Monera organisms. Resting, so spores are here. Heterocytes through which they can get the food. This is the Monera. Okay, this is the example of Monera. Next one is the Protista. This group includes many kinds of unicellular eukaryotic organisms. Some of these organisms use appendages. Okay, so this group includes many kind of unicellular eukaryotic organisms. Okay, some of these organisms use appendages, means some leg-like structure. Okay, some means outgrowth from their body. Some parts are outgrowth parts are there, such as hair-like cilia or whip-like flagella for moving around. So they have a what? Some are having a hair-like cilia, means hair-like some outgrowth, some part of the outgrowth, means from their body some hair-like structure will be come out, that is called the cilia, or whip-like called the flagella, which are used for moving from one place to another. Their mode of nutrition can be autotrophic or heterotrophic. They are also mode of nutrition. Some are having the autotrophic, some are having the heterotrophic. Examples are unicellular algae, diatoms, and protozoa. So these are the example of Protista. Okay, here some diagram of some Protista are given. That is the paramecium. Look, here some hair-like structures will be came out from their body, and that is called the cilia. These are called the cilia. Okay, so it is a paramecium. Example of Protista. It is the amoeba. Okay, the amoeba which have a surface like it's look like a leg. That is a pseudopodia, but it's not a leg. Okay, and here Euglena, it has a this straight like structure one, that's called the flagellum. Okay, or flagellum is a long. Okay, so it is called the flagellum, which we already get. Okay, so it is the Euglena, that is the protozoa. Yeah, that all are the example of what? Protista. Now next is the fungi. These are heterotrophic eukaryotic organisms. They use decaying organic material as food and are therefore called saprophytes. So fungi is what? It is a heterotrophic eukaryotic organism. They are heterotrophic. They are taking the food from the outside, and they are used, generally they are used as if dead and decaying organic material as their food. Therefore they are called as the saprophytes. Many of them have the capacity to become multicellular organism at certain stage in their lives. They have cell walls made of a tough complex sugar called chitin. Examples are yeast and mushroom. Example of fungi are yeast and mushroom. Here it is given in the figure. Some fungi are Aspergillus, Penicillium and Agaricus. So these are the example of fungi. Okay. Some fungal species live in permanent mutual dependent relationship with blue-green algae or cyanobacteria. Such relationships are called symbiotic. About the symbiotic already you got, or about the symbiosis, about the saprophyte already you got in your previous classes, no? So some fungi, they are living together with the blue-green algae or cyanobacteria, and they are having such a relationship in which both are benefited from each other, and that relationship is called as the symbiotic. These symbiotic life forms are called lichen. Example of these organisms which are made by the combination of fungi and algae is called as the lichen. We have all seen lichen as the slow growing large colored patches on the bark of tree. If you see nicely, then you will see that in some trees the bark of the tree, they're having some round patches, okay, round large colored patches. So that is the lichen. Okay. Next one, plantae. These are multicellular eukaryotes with cell walls. Plantae is what? They are multicellular eukaryotes with a cell wall. They are autotrophs and use chlorophyll for photosynthesis. So all of you know about the plant. Plants are what? Green in color. They are having a chlorophyll, and because of that they can prepare their own food by the process of photosynthesis. Thus, all plants are included in this group, since plant and animals are most visible forms of the diversity of life around us. We will look at the subgroups in these categories later. Okay. And the last one is what? Animalia. These include all organisms which are multicellular eukaryotes without cell wall. So here in the Animalia include all the organisms which are multicellular and eukaryotes, but they are not having a cell wall. They are heterotrophs. Again, we will look at their subgroups a little later in section 7.5. Now here, show you the classification of organisms. Look how the organisms are classified. Organisms, it's divided into prokaryotes and eukaryotes. Under the prokaryotes, they contain the unicellular, and that is the monera. Under the eukaryotes, they contain, again divided both two sides, unicellular, multicellular. In the unicellular, Protista. Multicellular, with cell wall or without cell wall. Without cell wall, Animalia, and with cell wall, do not perform photosynthesis, that is the fungi. Able to perform photosynthesis, that is the plantae. So this is the kingdom, 5 kingdom classification. Okay. So student, this much for today's class. In the next class, we will continue the lesson and we'll learn more about the classification of different organisms present in the environment. Okay. Here are some home assignment questions for you. Write down the answers and send me in group. Okay. Have a nice day.